I'll try it again. Hold up. We can have another vote. Do you think that this phase roster are better sticking together and continuing to try and plug in different players when they become available? Or do you think that they potentially have better options if they were all to go their separate ways and go back to their country? So the reason I ask this is because personally, I think that this is how this should run. Nico should go play for Crazy and take Yanko over there, and they can rock that shit. That's what I think they should do. I think Olaf should go back to Sweden, and then we could have an entire discussion about NIP, Fnatic, and making a decent Swedish roster again. Then what we could do is we could grab fucking Rain, take him up to that Nordvin team in fucking Norway. You can chop out a couple of the bad players, add Rain in. I'm sure there's a bunch of... Rain once told me about some kid from Norway that was sick on the AW playing a shitload of FPL. I don't even know who his name is. That's the cunt.
Holzerk, yeah.
Fucking get that cunt in there. Then who we got left? Guardian can go and fucking play for a Russian team if he wants, or he could potentially go and try and make a team with Stiko. Maybe when, I don't know, Oscar gets fed up playing in Hellraisers, he can come too.
Chad, you completely lost your mind.
No.
All I'm saying is...
here's the thing. What you're suggesting is it better to play for FaZe, contend for potential tournament titles, which you know they can if they start getting together their individual performances, which I don't think is necessarily out of the question, or should they go back to joining Crazy that attends...
Let me explain myself. Let me explain myself.
I need to know that you haven't lost your mind completely.
These are all very valuable pieces of a current team that doesn't function, right? They're all very, very valuable pieces, and if there were a team that worked, I would say just keep doing what you're doing. But your alternative, like the one that the community probably is thinking here, is let's continue to throw in these janky pieces and hope that the fucking puzzle goes together. Right now, it's like a bunch of fucking 3-year-olds who have 4 different puzzle sets, and they're fucking mashing their face together, trying to work out how that puzzle goes together. This puzzle doesn't go together, right? It went together at one point, but it's been left out in the sun too long, and all the pieces are fucking warped. Now, the reason it's important for these pieces to go back to their country, Sweden, they're not in a terrible position. Olaf was once the best Counter-Strike player in the entire world. Take that motherfucker back, reunite him with a couple of his homies like Crims, and let him wreck some cunts. Take Nico to Crazy. Crazy are playing fucking G2 right now. They're going to beat those cunts, and they're going to go to ESL 1 New York. They're going to win the qualifier. It's going to happen. Whatever. Get Nico there. Nico and Hunter in the same team. You're getting a pretty decent amount of fucking star power there, and build a proper team in the scene, right? Sure, he takes a chunk of hit, but all these players say they want to play with people at home. Guardian is the only one that I can't place. If I could get Frozen, I could get Stiko, I could get Oscar and Guardian, then we maybe have a team. Get Zero in there. There we go. We got a conversation. But that one I can't make happen.
I've heard some rumblings about a local team happening. But,
yeah, make that shit happen. Get fucking Rain to go up to Norway. Get Croman going on the team. Get this Hellzerk kid on the team. Get another good player in there that I'm forgetting from... get Jacob off of Renegades. Get him in the fucking team. There's 4. There we go. Just need an in-game leader. Who am I forgetting?
Do you want to destroy because you don't want FaZe to play together?
You basically destroyed like 5 different teams.
All I'm saying is that these pieces could do very valuable things. It is wishful thinking.
I mean,
that's the whole point.
Obviously,
you've
they're going
actually
to be valuable for the other teams because they're going to lesser teams.
Yeah, there you go. It's valuable for the local scenes.
He's told me on the idea.
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I would love to have Rain. I would love to have Jacob. I would love for Element to just respawn in 2003 form and just go into Nordavin, and all of a sudden we can live a happy life where Norway wins, CPLs and stuff like that. That'd be great. But I don't think that's a reality you can actually, assume it's going to happen.
No, he's actually sold me on a part of this plan. Basically,
is it the local team?
No, the part of this plan that doesn't include Nico, because Nico should fucking be on a top 3 team in the world.
I don't see Crazy
getting there anytime soon. Huh?
I think a lot of them should be on top 5.
I don't think anybody else currently is. Well, maybe
in form. Are you talking about their form at the moment?
Sure.
Yeah, but I think their form is based on their environment.
I'm not entirely sure that's true.
That's the problem with FaZe in this discussion. We're not talking about inform. FaZe have been shitting the bed for such a long time now. Rain hasn't been nowhere near his level for such a long time. Same goes on for Olaf Meister. You could argue.
But you guys think adding an extra player in the slot of Neo is going to make them all play good Counter-Strike again?
No, but get the right fucking player instead of picking the wrong fucking player.
Okay, so that's the question then. So you think that there is hope for the team? That's what you guys think, right? You guys think that there's hope.
Definitely, if they decide to go the right route. I mean, it's been a mismanaged team for such a long time now, and the players haven't dealt with it well. And if anything, you'd like to see some of those players step it up when needed the most.
So this is
haven't done that. Rain haven't done that.
This is the whole point of this conversation, right? At what point do we stop standing around in a circle and pointing the finger at the guy who's the newest? Right? At what point do we stop doing that? I mean, because we're already there. So the question is, if you're not just replacing Neo, who are you replacing? Right? Because if you guys are saying we literally keep the same 4,
I think it would take 2 changes.
Yeah, I think I mean, 2 changes.
I don't
look.
You said you gave us the option of the whole team sticks together, or like the whole core sticks together,
exactly.
or everybody takes.
I still think everybody.
Like,
I still think everybody goes their own ways, because I think that I don't think the international Counter-Strike teams will ever be consistent top 3 teams in the world. That doesn't mean that I don't think they can win events.
I don't agree with that at all.
Well, it hasn't been proven that can be the case, other than a short window of time when FaZe were at the top, right? FaZe were at the top for what?
How many real European mix lineups have you actually had though? Basically, FaZe and Mouse Sports that ever made it as far as to be at one point considered like an elite team, basically.
But that's my point.
Yeah, I think that's I think you're just making his case right now.
Sure, but then Hellraisers, sure, but they didn't even individually. They obviously didn't make an elite level team, even like piece by piece. Obviously, it was a team made up of new guys from scenes that didn't really work, and just put together under leadership of a veteran. That's not a team you expect to make it to the elite. While FaZe and Mousesports at least had the pieces that we knew were like elite level players, and that team could make up an elite level team. But obviously, that hasn't really happened that often. Like outside of maybe those 2 cases, those 2 teams.
I think what Chad is saying is pretty much on point. Like you can get a mixed nationality roster to be really, 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 really good for a couple of tournaments. Like that's where they peak. And like there's never going to be any consistency around it. I don't think we've seen that from any international team.
You would say that is down to communication.
I mean,
we had Mousesports being pretty consistent for a long time.
But
they weren't the number 1 team.
Yeah.
But they were consistently in the top 10, right?
But how many national teams are competing against Mousesports and FaZe?
That's what I'm saying. Like we haven't really had 2 teams
against 20. Of course, there'll be more good
yeah,
teams
exactly.
in the 20. I mean,
no, but you guys are. But that's the wrong way to look at this situation.
Why?
Right?
Why?
Because what you're saying is we're just about to have the equality debate. Like, how are we even doing this? What you're saying is, if we had more teams who were international rosters, then we, in theory, would have more competitive teams from international rosters. That as a sentiment is ridiculous. What I'm saying is teams who are of speaking one language and one culture, I guess Canada and America and Australia and New Zealand, maybe a little bit different or whatever, but having one team of one mind is going to be stronger than having one team of 5 different minds, or a mix of 3 or 4 different, or whatever the fuck it may be.
That's all about the leadership, dude. Like, if you think about it, the European teams that made it but didn't make it to number 1 consistently
were led by Carrigan.
Sure, but one of them was led by Carrigan, and that team actually made it to the top for like a decent amount of time. Sure, it was like a fairly brief period, but still, they were for like half of a year.
Sure, but
in like
they weren't
separate occasions, but still,
they were in a period of time when SK were the best team for the first half of the year. FaZe were the best team for maybe 5 months, and then SK beat them at the end of the year to say, hey, guess what, everything you just did, well, it doesn't really matter, people won't remember it.
Let me put it this way, if you took Glaive and let's say Sipnix out of Astralis, you put them in instead of Neo and let's say Olofmeister, you say that you don't think they would be the best or have the potential to be the best team in the world consistently?
No.
Consistently, no.
They sure would. I think Strikers is definitely onto something. It's about leadership. It's about understanding the mechanics of the team and facilitating. But sure, you're gonna have different cultural differences, but hell, man, even guys from Denmark, who are playing with each other, have those, different approaches to life and different approaches to all that. And Counter-Strike, I feel, I mean, Chad, you always speak English, right? In your teams, you've always been part of a native team, right? When I moved to Liquid, Striker, it was like one of the first, it was one of the first experiments with doing that, and that's something we've come so far along with. It's something we've involved so much. The Counter-Strike, I feel, is now more than ever an international sport. Like, communication can always be narrowed down, and there will always be your small hiccups.
It's an unfair comparison.
Okay.
The reason that's an unfair comparison is because you come from one of probably 6 countries in the world where maybe there's more. I have to think. One of the 5 or 6 countries in Europe that I would almost hazard a guess that 90+% of your population speak English, right? Sure. Like if I had to hazard a guess, I would say Norway, Finland, Denmark, Sweden, and then one of those other fucking Nordic countries, Iceland or Greenland or whatever the fuck you can't call it. every motherfucker there and his dog probably speaks English.
That's not unfair. Why does that make it unfair? That's an unfair
comparison. Why? Because what we're talking about is FaZe and Mouse Sports and Hellraisers.
So you're saying so you're saying American teams, North American teams combined with European players don't work either?
I don't like them.
Let's say you put okay, let's give you one example. Put fucking Zipex and Glaive instead of Nitro and whatever. S3.E23 into Liquid. Is that not the best team in the world consistently?
I don't think so.
Why not?
I genuinely think that the level that contributes to this on the tiny detail of communication and the fact of getting I think that we saw by having Taco in Liquid as a team, we already acknowledged earlier in the show by changing Taco with Stewie, who is a player not speaking English as a native language, made the team better, right? Do you think that changed at all because Stewie plays a different style of Counter-Strike than Taco, or do you think that the language barrier had something to do with it?
Just because of the playstyle and different.
So you genuinely think that the English level has nothing to do with it?
I don't think it has anything to do with it past the first 6 months.
Yeah.
Once you get adjusted, I really doubt that it's going to be a big problem for you.
Once you get adjusted, what makes you say that they will get adjusted?
We can work this out. We can do this. We can have a bet right now. I will bet either of you two 1,000 euros at this moment right now that no international team made up of 3 or more different nationalities, now that has to include people who do not speak English as native language, because Australia, New Zealand, UK, etc.
So you're saying now you're not even accounting it cultural difference, it's just about communication?
I think that the culture between Australia, New Zealand, UK, America and South Africa is all very similar. I don't think that we look at the world in too many different ways because we all grow up.
UK and Australia, sure, but the rest of
the same as no, like a lot of the people like from those countries are afforded the same kind of lifestyles, right? I genuinely think that is the case. But I would make a bet with either of you for 1,000 euros if you want, in the next 3 years, that we will not see an international team consistently the number 1 team for more than 6 months.
See, I would take that bet, but that bet is completely out of my hands. It's not up to me. If FaZe would buy,
it's that obvious. Like if it's that obvious, like you guys are so
if somebody would make the right.
But here's the thing. So you two are extremely convinced at the idea that this.
You're living in a perfect world.
People don't need to try it at this point outside of those 2 teams that we were talking about. Because look at how Vitality got back to the top. They put together a French roster, right? And it actually worked for them. And these other teams that just came up, they just improved as a unit. They didn't have to go into these multinational rosters because they actually found a 5 within their own country. They didn't have to take these risks and actually make it a top team in the world. Who else has tried outside of FaZe and Mouse Sports and Hellraisers on a consistent basis to make it a European team?
That's the whole point. Why aren't more people trying then? If it's possible, why don't they do it?
Because they've had other options. Because it makes more sense, sure.
But that's the whole point.
That's the entire thing.
The point is you're saying
they have
that no
much
matter
more
what
motivation to stay together than risk it, right?
But that is a factor, right? What you guys have just brought up there is a factor as to why this hasn't happened yet, because they've had other options. So
because they are doubting themselves, basically. That doesn't really make your case.
But what you said, no, that's not the point. What you said is that even if we could make our imaginary teams, even if we could pick Glaive and we could pick Sipnix and put them in whatever team we wanted to, you don't think they would be consistently the best team in the world?
Not right now, no. I think the best team in the world right now would still be Liquid.
That's the discussion, not whether it's realistic or not, because that's out of our hands, right?
No, but my point is, over the entirety of the future of Counter-Strike, and I said 3 years, I'll change the bet to 5 years, and we'll even go consistency of fucking, we'll go top 3. You don't even have to be the best team in the world. I'll go 5 years for 6 months, top 3 team.
I'm on. That's fucking crazy from you.
All right, so we're talking consistent team.
A top 3 consistent team within the next 5 years, multinational, has to have a minimum of 3 nationalities or more to be considered. That's it. It's done. We've just closed the topic.
You know what? We'll find out. I'm gonna send you my PayPal, and you can just pay now, and then I'll pay you back. Later.
We'll keep tabs on this.
You're basically saying that somebody like Mousesports will not make it to a top 3
consistently for 6 months. That's what I'm saying. I'm genuinely saying that.
6 months. Mousesports have already done it. Basically,
we just made the bet. Time will tell. All right. That's all. That's the situation right
there. You've already basically sure it's not within the 5 years, but if we made this bet 2 years ago, you would have already lost.
You know what I'm going to spend this 2,000 on? I'm going to spend this 2,000 on English lessons for people in Europe so they can try and join an international team. Anyway,
2 years ago.
We're going forward. Yeah.
But the only reason he would have lost it is because he went nice with it and said top 3.
Yeah, exactly. And
but that's his fault. That's his fault.
FaZe was a one-off.
It needs to be replicated, right?
FaZe weren't even the best team in the world for 6 months. They weren't. They weren't the best team in the world for 6 months.
They were definitely top 3
they were.
And
I left you off the hook. I let you off the hook because that's how confident I am that no other team.
It's fine. We
get look, I'm going to enjoy my €1,000 and